Hey, black people. If you're a black person, let me tell you something. Black people are Annunaki. Right. You might say how that is so. Black people, Bantu people. Bantu, do you know where that comes from? Bantu is derived from Antu. So Bantu people are the children of Antu. Bantu people, black people, are the children of Queen Antu. Queen Antu is the queen of the giant planet Nibiru that is part of our binary or twin star system that comes around every 3,500 years and is known in many cultures as Hekobulas, the planet of destruction, and so forth. So, Queen Antu is the wife of King Anu, the king of the planet Nibiru. So Anu, Na, Ki, it means earth. Ki is the name for planet Earth. So Anu, Na, Ki. You get it? So Bantu are children of Queen Antu. Queen Antu, the wife of King Anu of Nibiru. Anu, Na, Ki. So you're a black person. You are the Anunnaki. Now is extremely important because now is the time to claim your Anunnaki citizenship, to claim your Nibiru citizenship, because the Nibiru is right in our skies now. That's why people are talking of Atlas, whatever, alien attack is Nibiru that is in our skies. Your Queen Antu, is up in the skies, waiting for you to reunite with your children. So, black people, you are the children of Queen Antu. You heard, y'all?
Greetings everyone, welcome back to my channel once again, and in today's episode I'll be talking about why black people are considered to be the original man, or most commonly known as the Anunnaki. Well, this claim is highly rooted in ancient historical narrative, cosmic mythology, and radical identity reclamation. And so for black Americans, it is believed that they are not just normal people. They are the Anunnaki. They are descendants of deities who came to Earth to colonize it and mine gold. And in the process, they genetically engineered the original man, who was the black man, to have the bloodline of the deities, or most commonly known as the Anunnaki. So in today's episode, we will be viewing facts and ideas related to this claim, and I will kindly suggest that you watch the rest of this episode, and kindly don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and the share button as I come with my commentaries at the end of it.
These are the divine primordial deities. Now, if you are not privy to this information, I suggest just keep it moving. I am not here for the dead. I am only here for the awakened. If it resonate, let it marinate. If it doesn't apply, let it fly. Now let's get deep. I'm about to share with you guys some downloads that I received. Keep in mind that this is just another piece to the puzzle. Hell, it might be the puzzle. Now let's get into it. Your Anunnaki is none other than an ancient African people, which is who they call today your Moors. Keep in mind, the Anunnaki created a half-human and half-animal species on the planet. This is who you call your soulless beings, which is the counterfeit race that is thriving today. The Anunnaki is none other than a royal priesthood that went rogue and turned around and went against the original order. The Rosicrucians talk about this priesthood on how they created a counterfeit race of people and described it as being an experiment gone bad. Now you ask yourself, why didn't they just eliminate them? Spare us the heartache. But instead, the damage was already done. They had already created an imbalance on the planet. So what they tried to do was fix the balance by civilizing them, not once in history, but twice, in order to bring them into civilization. That was their way of fixing and restoring the balance, by civilizing them. The Moors is the ones who educated them. The Moors was the ones who were over in Spain for 700 years trying to them out of existence. The Moors is the one who started mixing with them. It wasn't us. And the Moors is the ones who built the universities, not just over in Spain and Grenada, but they also took it to Europe in their dark age. These are your Moor Europeans. All of them over there is a part of the Annunaki bloodline. Keep that in mind. They built over 13 universities in Europe. And guess what they were teaching them? Law. They were educating these Slavic people and trying to raise them up to be a part of humanity because they was an experiment and that was their invention. So they sat there and educated them for hundreds of years, prepping them and getting them prepared to take over America. America was considered their promised land, flowing with milk and honey. Keep in mind, America is your ancient Egypt. This is what you call Atlantis. Now, we had treaties with the Moors. We are the Indians. Keep in mind, we are the indigenous Indians of America, which is Kemet. We are who you call the original Egyptians. That's us. The original Atlanteans. Yeah, that's us. We had treaties with them. But keep in mind, they broke them. And they prepped their creation for years to prepare them to take over America. The Moors found a way to exit us out of the law. And these judges helped them do it. They overthrew us. Now keep in mind, the Annunaki invaded us through the 10th gate over in Mesopotamia. That's where they first landed. They call it the Iran Gate. They didn't come from the stars. You want to know where they came from? Beyond the ice wall. That's where they came from. Peep. This is considered the lands beyond the ice wall. And this is the Anunnaki land. And it described them as colonizing and a parasitic race that is sickening the other worlds and manipulating and controlling the children and the people. It also described them as being reptilian beings, but the reality is that they are beings of very tall stature. We was already here. They made us dead to the letter. That's why they called us black, because in the Black Law Dictionary, black means dead. And they took on our whiteness because whiteness just means sovereign being and the original organic being on the planet. Keep in mind that blackness absorbs every color in the spectrum. But when it's combined, it gives off white, which means that we are original to the planet. That's why they call the Ascended Masters the White Brotherhood, the Ascended Masters, the gods. John Hanson served as a delegate to the Continental Congress before he actually became the first, what they call, Black president of the United States. What is a delegate? A delegate is to give control, responsibility, and authority over to someone else. The reason why he was signing a Declaration of Independence, he was signing it over to their creation. Why would he ask yourself, why would you be signing the Declaration of Independence when there was 7 other black presidents before you? Why would you be signing it? You already had the land. But the reason why is because the Slavic people were foreigners over here. They couldn't just come over here and take the land. They had to do everything by law. So the Moors was the only ones that could sign the land over to them, because the Moors broke the treaty with us and disconnected us from the law. So it was John Hanson, which a part of the Annunaki bloodline, who gave them independence to America and wrote the Constitution, set up all the laws that goes against everybody that look like us over here. Wrote all of the letters. What they call is he signed all the laws and regulations, official papers and letters into law. John Hanson was responsible for initiating a number of programs that help America gain its world position today. Keep in mind now, the Continental Congress served as the government of the 13 bloodlines. and later the United States. The 13 bloodlines joined to form the United States. They came together. These is your Annunaki. John Hanson signed it into right. They signed it into law and gave over the land to their creation. Why do you think the laws was not set up for us? Why they say it? We always say, America, the law wasn't created for us. It ain't broken. It just wasn't made for us. It's the Anunnaki who set all of that up. Why do you think they tried to take Trump out? They was mad at Trump for exposing that America belongs to a black Moor, which is the Anunnaki. See, they are in bed with their creation. See, America is a business, and the Anunnaki own this land, but they gave it over to their creation to landlord over us. We are not the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki is none other than your Esau and your Jacob nations. They look like us, they skin folk, but they are not kinfolk. These are the ones that's been on the planet creating all of these soulless beings. And they even found the way in the 1900s how to clone melanin. So it is a lot of our people that look like us that ain't got a soul neither. So it gives you a whole nother different perspective on the cloning Tyrone. Because they've been cloning Tyrone for a long time. So it ain't that many original gods that's on the planet right now. Keep in mind that Anu, Enlil, and Enki is 3 estate gods. Anu is autumn, which is Adam. Anu is also soul, of Ra, which is Amun-Ra, the hidden god. That's the black dot. That is your soul. That's why in the Egyptian Book of the Dead, of the papyrus, it talks about Ana, which is Anu, which means to remember. Also, in this book that I have on Neuromelon, it said, in fact, Anu were the first humans to travel into Earth. You see, they ain't talking about the Anunnaki. They talking about Anu. That's the first estate god. That's Israel. That's Autumn in Egypt mythology. The one that came from the primeval waters of Noon, which is chaos, which is dark matter, which is melanin. That is the chosen ones that's on the planet, who they call so-called African American, that was overthrown by the Anunnaki. He signed everything in law for them. Oh, we see y'all. And y'all ain't gonna win this war this time. The gods is woke.
Hey, I need you to keep it real with me, man. Let's just keep it 100% real. Be real with my Instagram followers, yo. Are African Americans the real Anunnaki? Because I truly believe that we are the real Anunnaki.
Bet. Let's talk. Black Americans, y'all been lied to from the gate. You were told you came from slaves, from savages, from nothing. But that's the biggest deception on earth. You're not some broken people trying to survive. You're the original blueprint, the descendants of gods, the real cosmic royalty. The name Anunnaki, that's just one label. The Sumerians called them gods from the sky. But they weren't just aliens like how Hollywood paints it. These were beings of supreme intelligence, power, and spiritual technology. They didn't just come here, they shaped this place. They raised civilizations. They played with DNA. They had knowledge of the cosmos that modern science still can't touch. Now fast forward. Who's being targeted the most on this planet? Who's been spiritually silenced? Whose history's been buried? Black Americans. Why? Because you got the divine codes. You are the living proof of what they're trying to erase. You're not just African. You're not just from one tribe. Your bloodline is intergalactic. You're the descendants of the ancient builders, Anunnaki, Neteru, Elohim. Whatever name you choose, it all points back to you. And that's why the system fears you. Not because of your skin color, because of what's in your soul. Because if you wake up to who you truly are, the illusion collapses. The matrix dies. So yeah, you felt that pull for a reason. That knowing deep inside, that wait, we're not just people, we're something bigger. That's not a conspiracy. That's ancestral memory. That's spiritual DNA waking up. You are the gods they prayed to. You are the beings they tried to be. And now you're rising again. Stay woke, stay grounded, and don't let nobody talk you out of your birthright. Black Americans are the real Anunnaki. Period.
Period. You heard me?
Alright, so as a quick recap, the Homo erectus was grafted into a Homo sapien by mixing its genetics with the Anunnaki. And then Mother Ninti was a surrogate mother who actually birthed the Homo sapien out of her very own womb. That's why our African ancestors called her Inanna, which means Queen of the Heavens and the Earth. This also explains the reason why Africans have ghost DNA, which is a strand of DNA inside of our genetics that they can't trace back to any prehistoric humanoid species on this planet. Because we're not from this planet. We are, but we're not, if that makes sense. And as soon as we were intelligent enough to be given orders to mine this gold for the Anunnaki, we went to South Africa and we got straight to it. Soon as the gold was extracted by us, because we were some very hard work. Why is everybody enslaved our ancestors? But let's go back to the story. As soon as the gold was extracted, it was then transported to Nibiru, which is a sun/spaceship in which the Igigi stayed on. Igigi means those who stayed above. Those are the Riskians who stayed on Nibiru along with Anu. Because remember how I told you Risk was uninhabitable after Tarnush messed up the ozone layer in the Great War. Okay? And although Nibiru can fit in our solar system, it cannot fit in our side of the firmament. Because Nibiru is 63,408 miles in diameter. Now let's compare it to Earth, which has a diameter of 7,926 miles. Nibiru is way bigger than Earth, dude. So if Nibiru was on our part of the firmament, it would literally, its gravitational pull would literally rip off whole parts of our planet and cause all the other planets around us to zero in on each other, causing a star holocaust. So Nibiru was on the other side of the firmament. And just so you guys know, the firmament is the asteroid belt that surrounds the inner planets, that being Earth, which real name is Tiamat, Venus, which real name is Lahamu, Mercury, which real name is Mumu, and then Mars, which real name is Lamu. These were the original names of the planets until these white Romans changed the names. I think it was the Romans who did. And this asteroid belt was actually, believe it or not, a broken off piece of Earth, because Earth got split in half a long time ago by Luna. And during the explosion, half of the Earth became what we know now as our planet. The other half turned into an asteroid belt, and then another piece of it broke off and turned into our moon, which then orbited around Earth as it healed itself. Yeah, so Nibiru was where Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto was at. Pluto's real name is Gaga, Neptune's real name is Ea, Saturn's real name is Anshar, and Jupiter's real name is Kishar, and then Uranus's real name is Anu. Yeah, so Nibiru would bring the gold from Earth to Risk to rebuild the ozone layer. For a continuation of the story, like for part 5.
So here on Earth, the people should be predominantly black or various shades of brown skin. And that makes perfect sense, because if you look at Homo erectus, the beings that were on Earth at the time the Anunnaki first arrived here, the species that used to create us, they were a dark-skinned global species. They existed basically everywhere on the planet, and they were all dark-skinned. There were no white-skinned Homo erectus, even in the coldest regions of Earth at that time. So white skin is not native to our planet.
All right, get up with me. So apparently, a credible source at Harvard University says that around November, there's supposed to be 7-foot-tall African-American aliens in a ship that's 12 miles long. It's headed to Earth. It's supposed to be coming in November. Now, if this is true, apparently it's a credible source, and whatever. But I don't see the big deal. But if it's 7 feet tall African-American aliens on their way to Earth in a 12-mile long mothership or whatever spaceship, then y'all know what that means, right? If this is true. That means they'll arrive around December, January. Because we all know niggas be late to everything. But anyway, y'all get up with me, though.
If you're a high vibrational black person and you remember your past lives, you will know that we are the ancient ones. All black people this generation with the high vibration, we are the ancient ones. We were the first black people that populated the planet in ancient times. And why are we here in this generation? Why did we reincarnate into these physical bodies in this generation? Is because there's an energy shift. There's an awakening happening. There's people out here that are turning into bots. We have soulless CPUs walking around. And a lot of these people that have nanobot technology a part of their DNA are going to be dead soon. And it's going to be a small number of us that's going to survive. And with the small number of us that's going to survive, we are going to go back to Africa through this ascension. And we're going to have access to our 144,000 alien genes. And our ancestors, the Annunaki, our extraterrestrial ancestors, are coming back. Nibiru been here. Nibiru is a planet ship in the sun. So all this UFO activity that you see in the air with these higher level beings on these spaceships, we are going to become them. Eventually, we're going to become higher level beings once this ascension takes place. And once we go back to Africa, we are going to evolve into a new species, the Annunaki species, and have access to our 144,000 alien genes. And yes, we're going to have access to those spaceships.
Oh yeah, we gonna talk about it today, man. Let's get deep. As we know in the Bible, in the book of Genesis, it says, then God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Now who is us and who is our? I know a lot of us may think that the God in the Bible is referring to the creator of all. But in all actuality, it's referring to a group of beings called Annunaki. Now, Annunaki just means those who came from heaven to earth. And by the way, the ancient name for earth was called Ki. In the Bible, they was also referred to as the Elohim. These beings were sent from their home planet called Nibiru to earth to mine gold, and they was ordered to bring the gold back to Nibiru so it can protect their atmosphere. And who's the one that sent them? The big dog Anu, the Most High, the Heavenly One. Now, Anu sent two of his sons on this mission. One was called Enki, which was the Lord of the earth. And the other one was Enlil, and he was the Lord of Eden. And he also was named Yahweh in the Bible. Now, when they got to earth, their task was to mine this gold and bring it back to Nibiru. But they felt like they was so much of royalty, they didn't want to do the labor themselves. So they had a working class Anunnaki called the Ijiji come bear the load and do the work for them. Now, the Ijiji volunteered and they worked for years and years and years and years until they just got tired. And they didn't want to do it no more. They would complain to Enlil and tell them like, man, this work getting too hard to bear. But Enlil would tell them, man, y'all shut up and get back to work. So he was an evil motherfucker. But he felt like since he was head commander, he had say-so. But the Ijiji was like, man, fuck this shit. They dropped all their working tools, and one night they went and circled Enlil's camp where he was staying at. While Enlil was asleep, one of his head guards came and told him like the Ijiji was circled around the camp and they wanted to go to war against them. Enlil called Enki and told him what was going on. Then Enki came, and they simply told him, man, they was tired of doing the work. They felt like they weren't getting treated right. So they was ready to go to war. Enki had realized that they outnumbered them. He came up with an idea. It was already an existing being on the planet before they got there, which was an earlier version of us. Enki thought if he was to tinker with their DNA and add a little bit of their essence into the being, maybe they can create a race of people who can do the work for him. He told Enlil, and Enlil agreed to do it. Now they had to holler at the big dog Anu. He gets the final say-so and everything. Anu agreed to let them do it, even though they was breaking the galactic law. But they needed that gold on the bureau, so he told them go and do it. He had help from one of his sisters, Mother Nancy. Now they kept trying and trying with this experiment to create the perfect Homo sapiens sapien, but they kept on failing until they decided to use Mother Nancy's womb to create them this time. And from that point, they succeeded. and they came up with the first Adamu. When they put the DNA into her, 10 months later, she birthed the first Adamu, which means the first man. I did it. My hands have created the first Adamu, she said, according to the ancient texts. And from then came Adam and Eve. But they very detailed on how they did it in the tablets. Y'all gotta go read it for yourself. Way, way different from how they explain it in the Bible. So these extraterrestrials from these other planets who we think is aliens are really our ancestors. And we look like them. So if we was created in the image by these beings that masqueraded as gods, then what that makes us? Y'all stay tuned for more videos like this. Yeah.
Well, if you've watched to this end, thank you once again, and let's get down to it. For most Black Americans, the claim of the Anunnaki, who are believed to be extraterrestrial beings or mostly known as aliens, came to Earth and actually engineered the black man, and this is why it explains as to the reason as you're getting to see that the black man is way more superior when you compare his physical and mental capabilities compared to the white man. And so in this episode today, as you've seen various descriptions by different individuals with regards of how the black man is directly related to the Anunnaki, I don't want to go deeper into it as you've seen several individuals talking about this, and I'll just highlight some of the few areas that these individuals have touched upon. And so to begin with, it will be quite prudent to at least go back to the history and understand how the idea that the black man came from the Anunnaki came into being. And so the history of the Anunnaki people goes back to the ancient mythology of some ancient civilizations like the Assyrian, the Akan, and the Babylonians. And during this time, these ancient civilizations believed in the existence of extraterrestrial deities known as the Anunnaki, and this was the basic stone upon which this idea of black people being the Anunnaki came into being. And actually, this story about the black people becoming or being direct descendants of the Anunnaki was popularized by an author known as Teaching in his book, The 12th Planet, when he talked about the existence of the Anunnaki people on Earth and how the black people were directly related to these individuals. And it is believed that this Anunnaki came from a certain planet known as the Nibiru, and they were sent here by their king to mine gold and also colonize Earth. And once they go to land on Earth, they found the original man, who was also believed to be a black man. And in the process, they genetically engineered the black man in order for him to offer labor services to these godly beings while they mined gold from Earth. And in doing so, once these Anunnaki left Earth, the black man was left here, and he actually became quite powerful as he was directly tied to this divine genetic code. And so, Stitching's theory of the Anunnaki and the origin of the black man, that is in the 12th Planet book, was the foundational source of how this story of the Anunnaki came to be popularized. And this actually happened back in the 18th century. And back in the 1960s, this idea of the Anunnaki was also popularized by an individual known as Dwight York, or most commonly known as Malachi Z. York. And according to him, he began a new movement that was known as the Nubian movement, in which most of his basic tenets included that black people were the direct descendants of the Anunnaki, who were in a state of amnesia, that is, they had forgotten their true origins, that is, after the transatlantic slave trade period. And according to the Nubian teachings, it is believed that a rogue scientist created the white man, who actually came into existence about 6,000 years ago. And these white men were specifically designed to enslave the original man, that is the black man, who were direct lineage with the Anunnaki. And this actually worked. And for quite some time now, the black man has been in perpetual amnesia, whereby he has forgotten his roots and origin. And with the current trend, that is according to Dwight York, the black man was in the right process again of regaining his consciousness and becoming the dominant being as it was supposed to be by the Anunnaki people. And so this movement became popular, and we're getting to see that for most black individuals, they finally had an opportunity to gain their sense of identity, as according to the Eurocentric views and education system, most blacks were believed or were taught that Africa had no history of civilization and had no impactful invention that they had made towards mankind. And during that time, again, there is another sect of individuals who used actual facts to prove this, and that included the ancient Egyptian civilization, among other historical evidences. But for Doitiok, he made this claim about the direct cosmic and extraterrestrial origin of the black men, and in doing so he gave a new sense of identity to black people, who, again, when you get to notice that during the transatlantic slave period, one of the moves that the enslavers made was to totally strip away of the identity of the black slaves from Africa. And in doing so, it is believed that the black Americans had no sense of identity, as they were stripped away their tribal names, their identity, and their first languages. And in a bid to reclaim this, we are getting to see that the cosmic theory of the Anunnaki people is an attempt of black people to try and regain their identity that was stripped away by the colonizers. And in doing so, we're getting to see that from this concept, the Afrocentric view was actually developed, and for the first time, the black man could actively come out and claim that my ancestors made the ancient civilization in Egypt. They made the pyramids, they came from the stars, and they genetically engineered mankind to what it is today. And this actually goes to have this impact of a high self-esteem for most black Americans individuals, as they are finally getting to have this their own unique sense of identity, other than from what the Eurocentric view has always been telling them about themselves. As to them, someone who has colonized you will never give you the truth insight or the truth history of your origin, as their goal is to always put you down. And with this Anunnaki theory, more and more truth is actually coming to the light. Well, this again marks the end of this episode, and I will kindly once again request that you don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and the share button. And thank you once again for watching to this end. See you in the next episode.